Welcome to the Summit Spotlight. I am your new host, Andrea Ritter, and I'm your new communications director at the district. We are so excited today to have our interim superintendent, Roy Crawford, on the show. Welcome, Roy.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
So glad you're here. So you are new to the district, and you have some big plans.
Well, I'd like to think we do. I mean, before I came, the board and the administrative team developed and adopted a strategic plan, and which was brilliant for them to do that, to have the foresight to do that, actually. And it's proven to be a great segue into my leadership because there are priorities, a vision, the graduate profile. So that's really laid the foundation for my leadership. So yeah, we do have big plans around that.
I'm really excited about the strategic plan because we are really focused on 3 areas of excellence for our district, which are academics, and then we have our focus area number 2, which is equity-seeking systems, and then focus area number 3 is community and family partnerships. So really, if we break this down so that we can share more with the community, because we are going to be actively engaging all of you to get involved with our strategic planning process. So the strategic plan, it's a roadmap right now. It's not fully laid out. Is that correct?
We have those 3 focus areas that you just referenced, and we have some very generalized thinking about how we define each of those and what each of those mean. But we're working with a consulting firm right now, and within another week, we've had conversations with them about really being specific about what each of those focus area means and how we pursue each of those and what the action plans for each of those focus areas mean. And so as we think about those three areas, student success, equity, and community engagement, we think about them kind of on their own merits, each of those focus areas, but also how they impact each other vertically as well, because student success is directly tied to our equity efforts. They're both directly tied to parent engagement, community engagement. So we think of them again as individual entities, but also about how they inform each other and how they work to complement each other.
Yeah, and you know what's so great is that we today are going to talk about a very important area, which is our focus area number 1, which is all around academics. And so can you share what that looks like? And then we were going to really get into a little bit of a conversation around our guaranteed viable curriculum and what that even means. Because as a parent and as a layperson, you know, I want to be able to engage, but I don't necessarily understand what all this means. So can you help us as parents and as the community just to understand what this focus area number 1 means? And
sure. Actually, the focus area number 1 would be in 2 generalized areas. One would be, again, what we're calling guaranteed viable curriculum. And I know we use a lot of jargon in education. I'm going to try not to do that. The other part of student success is also social and emotional learning. So those are the 2 main areas under student success. But research is clear, it has been for decades, that students perform better, actually dramatically better, when curriculum, what they are learning, what they know and are able to do, beginning in kindergarten, is seamlessly provided from kindergarten to grade 1 to grade 2. And if there are more than 1 grade 1s in a school, a guaranteed and viable curriculum, or what a student knows and should be able to do, is not dependent on that teacher. It's systemic, and it's not dependent on which elementary school they're in, whether they're in Dillon or whether they're in Breckenridge or wherever they are. We're saying that kids in grade 1 will know and be able to do certain things by the end of grade 1. At least that's in a perfect world they can. And so it's aligned across the district, and then seamlessly aligned from grade 1 to grade 2 to grade 3, funneling into obviously grade 6. Okay, and then funneled into grade 9. And so when we're talking about guaranteed and viable curriculum, that's what we're talking about. What kids can learn and can do, and it's systemically aligned. So it's not a function of the particular teacher you have or the particular building you're in, but we're guaranteeing it. And along with that, what every child knows and should be able to do, it's also, we're assessing that to know where they are. And if they're not attaining the levels we think they should, how are we dealing with that? How are we remediating? How are we supporting that child? Or if they're exceeding our expectations, what do we do? To advance them or to really enhance their experience if they're exceeding the expectations. So, and I would add to that. So in general, that's what we mean when we say guaranteed and viable curriculum. And I would add, it's not that our district doesn't have a guaranteed and viable curriculum, but there are what I've called in school board meetings pockets of excellence. There are parts of our district where our curriculum is very well articulated, very well developed, where we're doing what I'm describing. Other parts of our district were maybe not so good, but it's the effort, the ongoing effort to make that system-wide for all kids, not just students who happen to be in those pockets of where we're doing it well.
And so does that tie into our focus area number 2, which is equity-seeking systems?
It ties pretty directly because I was at a conference this summer, at the CASE conference, and I'm looking at my notes. The keynote speaker was Ken Williams, and he was an equity speaker, and most of our leadership team was there. And he described equity as, in his definition, that every child is an authentic member of the community. Just as importantly, he described it as, he said the school should expect and demand excellence from every student.
I love that.
And that's the bottom line with equity, that every child, we have high expectations and we're demanding excellence from every child. And if every child isn't able to achieve that level of excellence, how are we breaking down barriers? How are we supporting that child? But if we don't have the guaranteed and viable curriculum in the first place, how do we know what excellence looks like? How do we know what the standard is for every child to achieve? And so that's a primary example of how success for every child in focus area 1 is directly related to our equity efforts. Another point I would make about that is in that equity strand and curriculum, because they're inextricably related, is that the better we meet the needs, and it's been proven statistically and through research, the better we meet the needs of students who have the greatest needs, the better all children achieve. Because as we improve our skills, as we improve our curriculum, as we improve our ability to be able to individualize instruction for students who aren't performing well, those same skills the teachers have apply to all students. And so as we raise the level for students who struggle, we're also raising the level for students who are quite successful because we're better at what we do. And so if we think about kids achieving at a high level, kids who are struggling, as we bring these kids up, these kids are also improving. We want to narrow the gap, okay, because the gap, because these kids have a greater need, but it also raises the bar for all of our kids. And I think sometimes there's a misconception about that if we're meeting the needs of kids who are struggling, then we're not meeting we're not focusing on the needs of kids who are doing well. And in actuality, the effect is just the opposite. The better we do for the kids who struggle, the better we're serving all students.
So just to clarify, what you're saying is when we are supporting the children who are needing a little extra, that actually is creating more of a unified community and raising everybody up. It's not taking anything away from the students that are at the top. That this is what you're talking about. You have a philosophy which I love, which is every child, every day. And that really, to me, encompasses, what we're doing with our academic track, and then also what we're doing, with our equity seeking system, which is, as you said, you're creating balance and up leveling for all the students.
I believe that, and I believe that research supports that. If you do it well, if you do it in terms of training teachers, looking at data and how kids are performing, adjusting curriculum, adjusting instructional methods based on what the data, both internal assessment of kids and external assessment of kids is telling you. But I don't want to diminish how difficult and challenging that work is, because it's a different way to think about student learning. That teachers might have the skills to be doing this, they might not. Principals might have the skills, they might not. And so when we're thinking about, again, guaranteed and viable curriculum and demanding excellence of all students, that's ongoing, constant work. When I talked to the school board the other night about the curriculum work, for example, this isn't something you do in a year. This isn't something you do in 5 years. This isn't something you do in 10 years. It is an ongoing evolution. It's the constant work of the schools. I would also say about it, when we talk about guaranteed and viable curriculum, is that in my experience, and I believe it's probably accurate, that most schools struggle with this exact same thing, because as teachers come and go, as school leaders come and go, the work around specific curriculum ebbs and flows as you're training new teachers, and again, as new leaders come in, to make it sustainable is a real challenge. That you can do work, and I call it shelf art. You do the work, it goes on the shelf, another teacher comes, a principal comes, and it stays on the shelf, and we forget about it. And that's typically what schools have done. The challenge is doing the work and then making that work sustainable. And having the resolve year after year to be holding ourselves accountable to what to the curriculum we've adopted, holding teachers accountable, holding principals and education leaders accountable, that we are being faithful to that, and not okay, we did the work, a year or two have gone by, and we go back to our old habits.
Well, it's like any relationship. You have to work at it, and it's an ongoing process.
Yes, it is.
And as a district, we are laser focused on the focus areas of the strategic plan, and that's our North Star, and that's where we're headed. And so we are really lucky to have you and your vision, and taking us forward. So I'm excited.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's good work. Yeah.
Wonderful. So can we give a little tidbit before we go for families and community members, just how we're going to progress and start to activate folks?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah. We should be getting, again, it's a complex organizational challenge to do the work that I'm talking about, and how to engage key teachers, key staff members, key community members, parents, how to engage them in this process. That some of the work is school work, but a lot of it is not. And so hopefully within the next week or two, each of the focus areas, each of the 3 focus areas will have what we're calling task force, who will kind of oversee the work of that focus area. Not do the work, but oversee it and hold people accountable. And then we'll have subcommittees of people working on segments of that, again, under student success, equity, and engagement. And so we'll be putting out all calls, we'll be asking for applications, we'll be asking for parent and community engagement in that, because that's going to be critical to the conversations around these things and the processes. I'm just a firm believer. I'm an interim superintendent. And I'm a firm believer that the work that we do, the systems work, needs to transcend individual people. It transcends a given superintendent. It transcends given principals. And if we do it right, and the community and teachers and all principals are invested in the work, then it does transcend.
That's what sustainability is all about.
That's what sustainability is about. And so we'll be asking parents to become involved so we have a model that is sustainable.
Well, we are so excited. Thank you for sharing today. Roy will be back with us next month, and we'll have some students on with him. And if you are interested in getting involved with our strategic planning process, please email us at ssd@summitk12.org. Thank you. We'll see you next time.